The Sims 5 is an upcoming life simulation video game that is being developed by Maxis and published by EA. I already made a video covering everything we know about The Sims 5 back in December of 2020, and since then more news has come out about the title. If you are interested in that video, watch that first and consider this a part 2. Let's break down the new job postings, interviews from EA, and the EA Play Live event. As always, all the sources will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check those out and support those original writers. And with that out of the way, let's get into everything we know about The Sims 5 Part 2. The first story we need to cover are the new job listings that have been posted for the upcoming Sims title. We know these jobs are for the upcoming Sims game because they are labeled for The Sims instead of TS4, which references The Sims 4. I want to give an additional shout out to the Sims community website. They are an awesome resource for archiving and sorting information, and this video would have not been possible without the work done over there. But back to the job listings. The first job listing that was noticed by the community was for a software engineer. The important part of the description says, quote, "You will actively work with engineering, art, design, and quality verification groups to prototype and ship various features that expand the feature set of Sims games. Most of the work is expected to be done in Unreal Engine, both in C++ and Blueprints." The listing is notable because it states the engineer will be working on a prototype of the upcoming Sims title, but will be utilizing Unreal Engine. Up to this point, the Sims franchise has used a custom in-house engine for each base PC game, and the common belief right now is that the Unreal Engine is only being used temporarily until the game progresses further in development, so the team doesn't waste time working on custom assets and designs, while also creating the new game engine. The next relevant job listing is for a game designer. The job listing hints at a subscription service, cross-platform functionality, and knowledge about Sims mods and custom content. Under the requirements section for the job, it says, quote, "Excited by and participating in new business/distribution models like subscription services and cross-platform games. Knowledge in popular Sims community mods and custom content would be ideal." This could mean a lot of things, and it's really just all speculation at this point. Sims 5 could have mod support, the game could have subscription style elements for additional DLC and content, and the game could be cross-platform. It's important to note that these job listings don't guarantee anything, and if the game is still being prototyped and early in development, the studio is most likely trying a bunch of new ideas, many of which will not make it into the final release. So do not be worried by the subscription service comment as of now. The next smaller job listing is for a senior CAS artist. The description for the job says what the studio is looking for in terms of the next generation of characters. The post says, quote, "Maxis is looking for a senior CAS artist to help establish the look and pipeline of our characters. If you are a visionary character artist who is adept at stylization, artistic interpretation, and a deep experience in character pipelines, bringing the latest trends in technology to bear against your craft." This doesn't tell us too much about what to expect from the new design for Sims 5, but it's safe to say after all these years, we should expect a significant upgrade between 4 and 5. Another job listing that has gained a lot of attention is for a UI artist. The main reason the listing has circulated throughout the community is because the position specifically lists the job will require at least 2 years of project development, which means the game is potentially even further out in terms of the release than we initially thought. The listing continues on and mentions the UI artist will work on a responsive UI system that will work on all platforms such as mobile, tablet, PC, and console. And this is interesting once again because if they are requiring the UI artist to work for the company for at least 2 years, if not longer, this could mean at the earliest they won't be done till 2023, and that means at the earliest the game probably won't be done till 2023, if not later, and that starts to paint a timeline for us which we didn't know before. One of the last important job listings that was noticed in March of 2021 was for a back-end software engineer. 2 of the job functions stood out to fans of the franchise, which said, quote, "Develop responsive, resilient, massively scalable, and globally available web services that support millions of players, and creatively blend security best practices and original techniques to keep user data secure and prevent cheating." This stands out for a few different reasons. The first part says the game will have services that support millions of players, which could possibly tease more at the chance of multiplayer functions similar to The Sims Online, which was mentioned in my last video. The second line that mentions they want to prevent cheating as well could be something the team wants to focus on more heavily this time around if players are going to be playing in the same world as each other. So once again, multiplayer functionality and keeping all players on a level playing field, but we will just have to wait and see. The last job listing I'm going to cover in this video is for the senior narrative designer. The listing itself mentions they want to establish and maintain the narrative vision of the project, and they want to bring characters to life and create emotional experiences in a non-linear simulation experience. They mention integrating the story with the gameplay, experience with young adult fiction, pop culture stories, and an emphasis on romantic narratives. The listing also lists experience with live services through the lens of narrative elements and knowledge of mod communities. There is a lot of information there, and it seems to tie together everything we've heard up to this point, and some of the new ideas Maxis is testing out for The Sims. So it sounds like they do want to have a bigger emphasis on story this time around, but not just creating a story, but a story that they can monetize potentially with live service elements. We don't know how this is going to work out, but it sounds like they are really pushing for this, especially considering this is for the senior narrative designer, so they will be leading the rest of the team. Another aspect is they want more knowledge once again on mod communities. So it sounds like a lot of this we have heard. They're looking at live service, they're looking at stories, they're looking at mods, all of which are things that it makes sense for the next iteration of the Sims franchise. And that covers the notable job listings up to this point. Next, we can move on to an interview with EA's chief studio officer, and she was asked, quote, "On another note, I talked a little about The Sims. You mentioned that, which is a totally great point, with Maxis related games, SimCity, SimFarm, even The Sims Online, it was 20 years ago, ahead of its time, with letting people build a character and build your environment. The Sims is still a vibrant franchise for EA right now. Is there sort of an opportunity to do more there? I look at Roblox, Fortnite Creative, and things like that. It seems like The Sims, out of all your franchises, is maybe the best equipped to play in this world." She responds saying, "Yes, a lot of fertile ground for The Sims for sure. And the idea that we will build on the tools for people to play with life, that's our brand. And the idea for people to be able to play with life together, we had The Sims Online that came out in 2002, which was around 20 years ago. We certainly were ahead of our time. I think 20 years later, we learned a lot about how players interact, what motivates players, how players can come together, and so as you imagine, as we think about the next generation of The Sims, it's super important for us to have the best tools and most flexibility for players to really expand on their creativity, remix items and objects in the world, and then to do that together. I think that's one of our biggest opportunities with The Sims is the social connection component that we need to bring to this brand and franchise. The team is hard at work on the next generation of that experience." So similar to the job listings, she mentions the idea of playing cooperatively and really hammers this point home that we'll play together. They really want co-op in this next game. which seems to be something the higher ups at EA are pushing for, and it seems almost like a mandate from the higher ups that Maxis for Sims 5 there has to be co-op elements, and that's something that EA sounds like they really want from the top down. And she once again mentions the game is in development, so fans can rest assured that the game is coming at some point. The final rumor we have to talk about is that The Sims 5 will be revealed at the upcoming EA Play Live 2021 event. The rumor comes from 4chan, and the original post has now been removed, but continues to live over at Reddit. The leak includes everything that is supposedly going to be shown off during the event. The first information says The Sims 5 will be given a teaser trailer, developer interview, and a spring 2022 release window for PC. With all the leaks, obviously take this with a grain of salt, but as leaks go, this one was relatively tame. It did come out in March of 2021, and at the time fans weren't sure whether or not to believe it. It included information about other games, and none of it seemed too out of the question to be real. The only sort of pushback there was with The Sims is with the job listings I mentioned for the UI designer. They were going to work on this game for at least 2 years, so the fact that this post was claiming a spring 2022 release date seemed very early, but not out of the question. EA Play Live was then officially announced for July 22nd, which already proved the leak wrong because the leak was supposed to be in June, because up to this point EA Live events were always in June, but for some reason due to whatever EA had, they wanted to push it to July. So it already debunked some of the biggest information. If they got the date wrong, what else did this leak get wrong? It's still possible The Sims 5 could be revealed, but if it is, this leak had nothing to do with it, and it was more coincidence than anything else. So basically this leak is debunked, and I wouldn't put too much thought into it. You can still look forward to the EA event, but I wouldn't hold my breath for anything Sims related. That for the most part is everything we know about The Sims 5 2021 update. I always have a lot of fun putting these videos together on The Sims, and hopefully we can start hearing some more confirmed details about the title soon. Either way, that's where I'm going to end this video. Make sure to like and share, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.